everyone. Welcome to Discourse episode 8. I had to check what episode we were on. It's been a little while. Wasn't able to record last week because I was traveling at the time, visiting and meeting with some of the people who are in this very Discourse episode right now. And that was a great time. But we are discussing something that is very near and dear to my heart, as I assume it is to the rest of the people in this particular episode, and that is Avatar, The Last Airbender. We have come down to the finale, the last season. Season 3, Book 3, Fire. Our intrepid heroes are finally going to the Fire Nation. Aang's going to learn firebending, but they got to deal with all the issues along the way. And also characters who might have betrayed them and are trying to ingratiate themselves to the game, if you will. For myself, like I said before, I'm a huge Avatar fan. I remember watching the original episode when it first premiered all the way back in 2005. And I was so I remember being so incredibly excited for Avatar Season 3. I think when they did it, I think this came out in 2008, which was a goddamn good year for entertainment, I think, in general. We have the Iron Man coming out in The Dark Knight, a number of other great films, but also cartoons. It was some good stuff. And I remember watching the Comic-Con trailer on YouTube. It wasn't even like the clean version. It was one that was recorded before it was finally put on YouTube by Nickelodeon. And just fan reaction, just people were so excited for this. It was the culmination of this incredible journey that not only these characters went on, but that we went on with them. And so watching that teaser trailer, all the fans reacting, I got in on it too. And then, finally getting into this season and watching these characters deal with some of the most darkest aspects of themselves and confronting the mistakes that they've made and how they've handled their relationships with other people. It was amazing to see. I mean, in my opinion, the spectacular animation and the fight sequences are just outstanding. The level of choreography just blew me away, and I think it really does culminate in a fantastic ending to the series, where a lot of plots and subplots are wrapped up. Not everything. There's a famous one, which I'm sure we'll talk about in a bit, that was not wrapped up. That was, matter of fact, wrapped up in the comics. But overall, I'm a huge fan of the season. I think it's great. It confirms that Contain was always meant to be. Goddamn right. Aang and Katara shipper. You Zutarians, get the hell out of here. Get your weird asses out of here. No one wants to see Katara and Zuko hook up. It never made any sense, chat. Never made any sense. She only started liking him in the last 5 episodes of the series. So what do you mean when you want them to start smooching? Get out of here. No, I love this particular season and just this entire series as a whole. And someday there's always a part of me that I hope we can go back to. And I know they did Legend of Korra. I know they did that, and that's a conversation for a later time, because I have a lot to say about Legend of Korra. Some positive, some not so positive. But I love this. I love this last season, and I want to move on to everyone else that's currently. We have a nice, small, intimate group today. We have Kazfe, we have Thunderly, we have Chris Ayers, and I want to go ahead and start with Kazfe, and I want to ask you just how did you originally see the last season, and just your general thoughts about it.
Well, I would say I saw it start to finish for the first time a couple of months ago when I was rewatching the whole show. I think season 3 was the one I saw the least amount of when I was younger. So it was I'd seen some clips online. I knew the gist of what happened with all the characters and everything. I will say watching it from start to finish was a bit draining at times, especially knowing that certain parts where I'm sure as it was premiering on Nickelodeon, people were like, oh, this is it. This is the big moment, the moment of truth and everything, the finale, whatever. And then it turns out everything kind of goes to shit again. And I already knew that was going to happen. I'm just like, oh, I feel so bad for everyone here. But at least it was well written and it was definitely worth it. And I love, as you said, the way that all these characters are facing the darkest parts of themselves. And I mean, as I've said in previous episodes talking about this show, they have to grow up so quickly in order to overcome everything that's been thrown at them. And once again, this season didn't pull any punches with that. And given that the first 2 seasons were already so intense, that's saying a lot.
Yeah, it's incredible because of all the horrible things that they had gone through in those first two seasons. Yes, I mean it's a very whimsical show. It's it's a fantasy action adventure show. It's meant for kids. But yeah, they dealt with death, they dealt with trauma. And this season they're at war. It's like this is all culminating in this last act, this last push. And it's difficult, and there are sacrifices made. Characters die. Relationships end. I mean, there is attempted. There is murder. There's attempted murder. There is actions that are taken that would result in the death of children. I mean, all I'll say is, Jesus Christ, Firelord Ozai, he is a bad dad. He is not good. It's like, I will kill my son if given the opportunity. I mean, stuff like that is very heavy for a children's cartoon. And I really admire it for that. So I'm right there with you. What about you, Thunderly? How did you foresee it? Now, how do you foresee this? And what are your general impressions so far? Because I know you haven't finished this season yet.
Yeah, I haven't finished this season yet. It's my first time watching this season actually, because as I'm thinking back, I think at the time I didn't have cable.
Yeah. So
like, I probably did miss this season. So like, I watched this season 3 on Paramount Plus, and I started last night watching them all the way up to like episode 10, which was the 2-parter, and I thought season 2 was dark, but this one just gets even darker. Even though like this season kind of starts off in a way like, oh, this is after the big final battle in season 2. And then all of a sudden, hey, we're gonna go to dress up as Fire Nation people because now they're in the vicinity. So
yeah, well, they're living in the Fire Nation, yeah.
Yeah. So like I like that whole thing of them trying to like, be in there trying to act like them, but secretly there was people knowing that they were not part of there the whole time. And I really did like the story coming out of this. Now, I don't know what happens in the next episodes after 10, so I can't really have an opinion about those, but from what I saw, I really did enjoy it so far.
Nice. Chris Harris, how about yourself, sir? How you originally first saw this and your general thoughts on it?
I hadn't seen anything from this season until just a couple days ago when I started from the beginning. Yeah, I've seen the whole thing beginning to end,
right.
And this was a really good note to end on. This season, it's like I can think of a couple lulls in the past seasons, but I can't think of a single lull with this. It just had me completely engaged with it from beginning to end. And like Jacob Graves said, when it gets dark, it gets really dark, especially when it gets into the history of a certain character. It's like, holy shit. So yeah, I dug this a lot.
Nice. It was brought up previously, just how you have the gang, if you will, infiltrating Fire Nation, the Fire Nation society, its culture, and because we had kind of seen aspects of Fire Nation culture beforehand. Mostly we've got it through the villains' perspectives. I mean, through whether it be Zuko or Azula, or occasionally through flashbacks, featuring Ozai or even Admiral Zhao. This is the first time where we really spend like any time with the citizens. I guess we also in some of the Fire Nation satellites in the Earth Kingdom, when we go to those villages, like the one that Jet tries to destroy in season 1. But for the most part, we don't really see Fire Nation society, and I liked it that. They weren't just all evil. Like they're just trying to live their lives. As they've been trying to do so for 100 years, that this war has been going on for since the Fire Nation committed genocide against the Air Nomads, and we learn, and it's like, oh, it finally makes sense. They've indoctrinated all these people. They've promoted and pumped out propaganda to them. They've changed history. I mean, there's like that great episode. It's like I think it's like episode 2, the headband. Which is very much a shipping episode, but it also explores the history and the culture perspective of the Fire Nation, where they've changed their textbooks to make it where their history is fictional. and they give themselves credit, or they're saying that they're spreading the glory of the Fire Nation culture across the world, which is very obviously similar to Nazi Germany and how they spread this propaganda, or like any culture or any nation that had done this in the past. I just take Nazi Germany is just always the popular answer to go with, but it feels very much like that. And I really like that aspect. This is just a free for all at this point. But how do you guys like seeing the Fire Nation explored in this way from the citizens' perspective, and also even some of the characters? This is when Zuko and Azula and like their friends are kind of all living there and experiencing that.
I really liked how it humanized so many of these people that in any other piece of fiction we would feel like we have to hate.
Yeah.
I especially liked whenever we would follow Zuko and Azula and their whole friend group, because I wish we'd had more time with those characters to develop them, because especially with characters like Ty Lee, like I think she's a prime example of one of those wide-eyed optimists who just got mixed up with all the wrong people. And it goes to show how that kind of attitude, it can work for you in good ways, but then like it can also work against you, because she spent so much time spending time with people that I think she was hoping could be better, and she wanted everyone to be a big happy family. And eventually she had to realize, no, this isn't going to work. And I know I kind of went off on a tangent there, but I'm just saying it's like an example of how people can get sucked in and yet you still feel for them.
Yeah, I mean, because she's been presented as, she is technically a villain through most of the show, but she has this very bubbly personality that seems aloof and wants everything to be fine. But even though it obviously isn't. I do like that episode where we spend time with the evil gang, if you will, but of Zuko, Azula, Mai, and Ty Lee when they go to the beach, where they go to their summer home, their beach home, and we do kind of see them for the first time, like truly acting like kids or like teenagers. And we have that where, Ty Lee, how I love it too, because these animators are horny. I've been telling people for years they are so goddamn horny, and you have like all the other like male figures just lusting after Ty Lee, and there's that one shot when I'm like, all right, I know what you guys are doing, where they have her in that tight little bikini. It's like, geez, this is a children's cartoon. What are you guys doing? And I was like, I know what you did there. I did it for the fans. But no, I did like that they went into that, and how Azula, her entire life has been nothing but war and manipulation, and she doesn't know how to act like a teenager. And every time she attempts it, it's super awkward or it's terrifying. And it's meant as like a joke, but when you really think about it, it's like that shows how just broken and psychopathic she really is. Like when there's this one boy who is like kind of hitting on her and flirting with her, wants to go out with her, and she's like, yes, and we will attain power and we shall rule this nation together. It's like, whoa, he like backs off. He's like, I can't get with this. And I like that. And it even kind of ends like that entire episode ends on a positive note, even though up to this point they're the villains. Like Zuko, this is before Zuko had his, come to God moment, where he's like, oh shit, I've been doing the wrong thing this whole time. My Uncle Ira was right. I don't want this. I like seeing, even from the perspective of the villains, them trying to acclimate to their society was really cool. Any other thoughts on just the exploration of the Fire Nation culture? Anything you liked or you didn't like, or there was a particular moment, as Cassie was bringing up in regards to Ty Lee, that kind of stuck out to you guys?
Something. Oh, go ahead.
For me, it was the episode of man, I forgot his name.
Sparky Boom Boom Man?
No, not Sparky Boom Boom Man. Comedy Relief Man. Sokka, there we go. Where he felt like he was useless, so he goes to like a Fire Nation like master
swordsman.
Swordsman to like get some sort of like, I feel like I could do anything. And even though the swordsman knew he wasn't part of the Fire Nation, he still helped them because anybody could be a swordsman. That's what he said.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like that. What that came to me is like, not everybody is evil in there. It's just some of them have been poisoned by propaganda, and some of them knew things that they don't like, and they don't want to live that type of way.
Well, it also shows that there are people who are well aware what the Fire Nation is, and they're like, I'm a single individual, I can't do anything, but but I still can help people along the way. And it just shows further proof that there are good people, a lot of good people, probably mostly good people that live in the Fire Nation. It's just this, this military class, this royal family that has such a vice grip on everything that makes so many people suffer. And yes, that's another great episode. And we also, Sokka, because he's very much the comic relief character, and he's kind of relegated to various funny antics, but he is also the guy that comes up with all the plans, as we've detailed in previous discussions, where he's the one that the gang looks to and they go like, hey, what's your plan, Sokka? How do we get out of here? How do we do this? How do we beat this thing? And we see that a lot with him in this season. Not only obviously his physical training, gets his cool meteor sword, but also how he gets over, even it's this small little thing, his public speaking issue, where he gets nervous. Like he has issues articulating himself, and like he even manages to circumvent that, and he gets that confidence, and he becomes more of a well-rounded character, a better character.
He becomes more of a leader than
very much so.
Anything.
Very much so, leading the assault in the Sozin's Comet, or not Sozin's Comet, excuse me, the Day of Black Sun, among other things, also on Sozin's Comet. And I really like that about him. What about you, Chris Ayers? Is there anything like a moment where they were exploring Fire Nation culture? I mean, there's a lot of examples, but is there something that stuck out to you, or a moment where the characters were surprised by something?
There is. It's when Aang weasels his way into going to the school, and he makes friends with the students there, and he pisses off the teachers, as you do when you're a new kid, and he invites them to a cave party, and it drives home a lot of these kids, there's a couple bullies in there who fuck with him and whatever, but they are just kids, and regular kids, they're not really paying attention to politics or war or whatever, they just want to do their own thing. And for me, that kind of added a little bit of humanity to the Fire Nation, along with the other examples that have been listed. And for me, it also kind of added to the stakes of obviously we want Aang to win, but we also we don't want the entire Fire Nation gone. There's got to be a sense of control, and they've got to figure out a way how to win without causing so many casualties. And that added to the show for me. That added something.
It just showed that the enemy they're fighting is not just the entirety of the Fire Nation. Right. So not to just other them completely, where they're all monsters, which is clearly not the case. So yeah, completely agree. I mean, I really like the headband episode. A lot of people say it's like, why are they going to school and shit? Shouldn't they be, planning the next invasion? But it is necessary. I understand why they did it. And plus, that dance party is fun. I mean, it also gives you one of the best contained moments in the show, where him and Katara and dancing, and she's kind of nervous about it because they're all watching us, and he's like, and that's totally fine. Just keep your eyes on me. And she gives him the fuck me Nala eyes. And I'm like, I know what's going on here. No, I thought it was it's an adorable episode, and one that stands out for those various reasons.
Can we bring up that one kid who was just going off on the dance floor?
Oh yeah. That kid was amazing. Yeah,
that guy.
Yeah, he was funny. No, I love that they even though we're dealing with very serious subject matter, we can still have a ton of fun along the way. Little visual gags or comedy bits, and there's plenty in this particular season. But this is kind of related to the Fire Nation culture, because it also, it's like, hey, we're showing you that not everyone in the Fire Nation is evil, and that a lot of these people are being abused. Even when we see the one episode with the Fire Nation factory, the Painted Lady, where they have to it's the Captain Planet episode, where Katara dresses up as that mythical figure, and that they destroy the factory and clean up that lake or that coastline that they're at. But we also it also shows just the horrors that the Fire Nation have imposed on people, and how it's twisted good people into villains. And one of the best episodes of this series, and I think we've mentioned even beforehand when we talked about bloodbending, but I really like that we show just the impact that the Fire Nation has had on people for decades. And where it's the waterbending. What was the name of the episode? Was it the Waterbending Master? I'm trying to remember specifically, but it's the one that features the character of
Puppet Master.
Puppet Master. That's it. Thank you. Which is such an appropriate title. Introducing the character of Hama, who is this waterbender who was from Katara's village. Knew, as you know, it's in the flashback, knew her grandmother and everything, and was abused and imprisoned in the Fire Nation, and the only way she could escape was to practice this horrific version of waterbending, which is to control the water in someone's blood and to do horrible things to them. It's kind of like one of the few horror episodes in the series, I think, and it also is, I think it's a great episode focusing on Katara, where she has to save everyone, but also she has to defeat someone who she initially looked up to, and recognizes this, even though you're from my culture, even though you were part of my tribe, my family, you're too fucking far gone. And I gotta put you down. And it features some incredible animation, but that's always an episode that stood out to me, and was great character growth for Katara, but also showing just the horrible impact the Fire Nation has had. Any thoughts on bloodbending, which is a new subbending type? We've previously seen a couple of other subbending types like metal bending in season 2. But any thoughts on bloodbending and maybe that particular episode and the character of Hama, who only appears in that one episode?
It is a very cool and very creepy power that if I met someone who could do that, I would not want to piss them off, because I don't want that shit happening to me at all. And that episode, it does have kind of a creepy aesthetic to it overall. It's funny because that GIF that's posted in the chat, there's a full moon out, and the lady has those claws. So I'm just like, oh shit, are they gonna bring werewolves into this? Like, at first I thought that's what's gonna happen, and then it's like, oh, this is actually even more scary in a way, because like you can't do anything when someone is doing that to you. Like that's one of the most horrifying things of all, is having your own, literally your free will is taken away from you. And yeah, I really dug that.
Yeah, for context, I'm glad because I forgot to bring this up, the full moon. In this episode, we see that the only way to control someone via bloodbending is when the moon is high, when it's a full moon. Although that might change later on in Avatar sequel series, but I do like that they have that. And again, yeah, very much like werewolves. Any other thoughts on Hama or bloodbending in general?
I think her backstory is sad.
Very
sad.
Honest. It's tragic.
Because it's like she had no control over what was happening in her life.
Mm-hmm.
And then the moment that the Fire Nation basically raided where she lived and she was taken prisoner, is like the only thing she could only do was learn this bloodbending technique. And that's just like that to me, like over time, yes, that made her crazy, but at the same time you have to do something to survive. So
yeah, that was her obsession, was just survival and then later revenge. Cassidy, any thoughts?
I love the way that episode was building the tension. Like, there was always something creepy about that lady from the beginning. She shows up while they're telling ghost stories, and then they show her draining the life out of plants, and like everything around that area is black. Like, the imagery did a very good job of foreshadowing everything, and it's one of the best uses of a morally gray character that we've seen. And also the fact that she becomes somewhat successful in what she was trying to, well, she is successful in passing on her ability to someone else, because she does the same thing to Katara that other people did to her and puts her in a position where she doesn't have a choice. And it's awful. And it shows what trauma does to some people. Some of them will turn around and just do that to somebody else.
Yeah. Yeah, that's exactly the case. And I even like how it really shows the dichotomy between Hama and Katara, when we get to the Southern Raiders episode and where Katara confronts the man who is responsible for the death of her mother. I like that. It shows how they dealt with their trauma in different ways. And she even uses bloodbending, I think. Doesn't she? She uses bloodbending in the episode, or maybe I'm forgetting.
Yeah, she does.
She does for a moment.
She does for a moment, yeah, but she chooses, but then she doesn't go too far. Yeah, I know. I just love how in each season they showcase like bending, like they showcase the terrifying aspects of it, because there's something fantastical and whimsical about them controlling the elements. Like season 1, we see just kind of fire bending as like, oh, this truly destructive force. And like in season 2, we get metal bending, and then we think water bending. Oh, water bending, that's great. Whimsical control of water and stuff. But then we see like this really horrific version of it. It's like, oh god, and how far you could go with these abilities, and how much destruction you can, reap upon a person. And so I really like that. So I just wanted to give blood bending a shout out, because someone else uses blood bending in Legend of Korra. And I really appreciate how they use that with that character. I love it how it's like, Katara's like, I'm going to make sure this ability is outlawed. And it just spread across the world. I guess everyone just figured it out on their own. Because Hama was the only one who had used it previously. So it's like, yeah, that shit just got out there. But moving on, is there any like potential themes you guys want to touch on, or a thing that the show introduces, like a cultural aspect of the Fire Nation, or like anything in that regard, or like a story beat that you thought was really important that they showcased or that they repeated off the top of your head? And anything in particular? Those are the two big ones for me.
Just the way that a lot of characters spent the whole season battling with themselves, like Aang trying to decide whether or not to kill Ozai, and he's consulting with his past selves about it. And even though they are different parts of himself, they all have different ideas on what he should do. And at one point, Kiyoshi is just like, well, I killed Chin. And he's like, well, you didn't really. It was an accident. And she's like, I would have killed him anyway, so I don't see much of a difference. And she's very straightforward about that. And I love how the finale still ends with him not killing Ozai, but even so, he still literally brings that man to his knees and leaves him defenseless. And it just like, he just takes the man's firebending, and the dude is absolutely helpless without it. And, it just, he was able to stay true to his convictions. He was able to find a way to uphold peace and not keep continuing that cycle of violence, because Iroh even mentions like how he doesn't want to kill his brother because history is going to paint it as something bad. So I love the way that was resolved. Yeah,
Aang managed to find another way by taking his dick and balls from him. But no, you're right. No, he literally stripped him of the thing that he abused constantly, that he used his own abilities to obtain power for himself. I mean, he was literally committing genocide before Aang intervened in that moment, where when we get to the Sozin's Comet episodes, which is the 4-part finale, I believe. And I think there's 21 episodes this season. They added an extra episode. I'm like, oh, good. But where he's like, I'm going to do to the Earth Kingdom what my ancestor did to the Air Nation. Where he's just like, I'm going to wipe all these fucking people out. And Aang, despite that, is like, I can't bring myself to kill you, but I'm glad that he found another way by taking the thing that in Ozai's mind defines him completely, which is his power. So in a way, does truly kill him or eliminate him forever as a threat. As far as we know, we don't know if the comics will continue to explore Ozai as a character. But no, I'm glad you brought that up about Aang's moral dilemma. Like a lot of the characters are dealing with that moral dilemma of like, should I kill this guy, or should I just kind of let bygones be bygones, or find another way? I do like Katara has that, and Zuko has that with both his father and even his sister, and I really like that. But moving on from that, we're talking about these characters, talking about Aang in particular. We can just kind of. We've already mentioned certain aspects and what they have gone through throughout this entire season. But I like how we see Aang, first time with hair, which I think is really cool. And then when he was like a little baby in like a flashback, we see him for the first time with hair, and he is broken completely. Like how long? I think it's like a month or so after the events of book 2, and they've been on the run. His hair has grown out. Katara has been taking care of him, basically giving him therapy. And he looks emaciated. He looks tired. He feels guilt ridden. And I love how in that first episode, his first thing is, I can't let anything bad happen to my friends or my family at this point, considering them family. And he tries to go out on his own, but he's just so broken and battered that they inevitably have to come back there and rescue him. But I like that, and that, especially in those first 10 episodes before we lead up to the Day of Black Sun, when they choose to invade the Fire Nation, where he is kind of always in a state of recovery. And he's really reliant more on his friends now than ever. Now he's weakened, and that the Avatar state has been stripped from him because of his chi being blocked and his unwillingness to let go his love for Katara. But I really love seeing Aang this season. Even his struggle with his feelings for Katara. Like he really wants to like that. I love you, and he wants that relationship. But we're at war, and it's complicated because she wants that too. But she's fighting, and we don't need that distraction. But he's horny, and he's like, I don't know what to do. He's got the hormones. They both have the hormones going. So I love that. They really do focus on that aspect, and then inevitably finally getting what he wants and what Katara wants, and ending his arc and becoming the fully realized Avatar he was always destined to be, despite all the horrible things that have happened throughout these 3 seasons. But any other thoughts on Aang and his struggle, and how he finally does become indeed the Avatar?
It's kind of funny because like in the beginning when he finds out that the whole world thinks that the Avatar is dead, he
True.
does not want to accept that at all. But he has to because he needs to recover, and he needs to blend in with the society of the Fire Nation for now, as he's recovering. So like it's a moment that it's him going through this journey of kind of refining himself.
Sure. Oh, definitely. I think so. I forgot about that aspect. Yeah. Everyone thinks he's dead because that's the thing. Zuko, Azula gives Zuko credit for killing the Avatar, where she doesn't take credit, and so she also has something on Zuko because she can't help herself. And so yeah, it's like this. It's the secret that multiple people are sharing, whether it's also the villains or the heroes. But yeah, it's Aang's just his frustration of not wanting people to lose hope that he's dead. That he wants them to believe that he's still alive, but he knows that fuck yeah, it's smart in hindsight. So we can continue what we're doing in secret. It's a good point you brought up. Any other thoughts on Aang's journey in this, the culmination of all of his struggles throughout these seasons?
I had to leave for a little bit, so
No problem.
I don't know if anyone mentioned this already, but yeah, the fact that he has to spend at least the first chunk of the season undercover because everyone thinks he's dead, and it fucks with him because he can't do anything to help, and he wants to help, and that endears you to him even more as a character. Is the fact that, like, yeah, he's a kid and he wants to have fun, but he also realizes what he has to do, and he wants to do as much good as he possibly can. And the fact that he can't is an issue for him, and that makes the character even more compelling, and it makes you root for him more.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. Like, even if it's small things, he's like, well, I can't take action against the school, but I can, literally throw a party for these kids, make them like live their lives and loosen up a little bit. The Footloose episode, if you will, of Avatar: The Last Airbender. But just also ingratiate him to certain people. I really liked those calmer episodes, the calm before the storm, if you will, when we finally get to the battles and the war itself and the invasion of the Fire Nation. Cassidy, do you have any thoughts on just Aang's arc this season, the culmination of his entire journey? Anything else that maybe we didn't bring up?
I'd say those episodes where like he was feeling really anxious. I think it was leading up to the eclipse and everything. He wasn't sleeping. He kept having those nightmares and everything. And, at the same time also being distracted by trying to let Katara knows how he feels. Because at this point, everyone thinks this is going to be the be-all, end-all, but they also know they're not really ready for it. And it just, I also liked that there were moments of comedy in those episodes. But yeah, it just... Sorry,
No, it's fine. Don't want to put you on the spot. But no, I agree. I'm glad, like I said before, I'm glad they have those lighter moments, because Aang is dealing with the most responsibility he's ever had in his life at this point, and he's dealing with the fact that he failed so thoroughly in the last season, and while also going through puberty and having all those hormones a raging. And so he's got a lot on his mind. Even like when he's like you mentioned before, like it was before the invasion, when he's hallucinating because he hasn't slept well. And he has this whole thing where he finally reveals to Katara, what does he say? Baby, you're my forever girl.
Yeah, that was hilarious.
He's like kissing like a sheep or something. So they still have it where, they have these comedic little bits. And I like that. And I like that. It's adorable. It's super cute.
And Appa and Momo is talking and fighting each other.
Oh, yeah. No, I love that. Yeah, it still has those little goofy moments, so it's great. And I just love the culmination. Like, he gets everything he wants, which is what he deserved it. He went through the hero's journey. You suffered, okay? And now you're going to get everything you want, Aang, as he should. And, moving on from Aang, we can always bring him back up, of course, but talking about Katara, and she has, a similar arc to Aang. I mean, obviously being a very maternal figure towards everyone. Really, she is the glue that keeps everyone together. Without her, this journey would never have happened. Everything would have, I believe, fallen apart. But, she's dealing with a number of aspects what I think are really interesting. One, she's dealing with the fact that the savior of the world, and it's out there, is completely in love with her. And she's like, I got to balance this, but also not to rebuff him at the same time, because I also have those feelings, but we're at war. She has to deal with that, which is difficult. She has to deal with the fact that she is confronted with her father's murder as the opportunity to confront him and then possibly murder him out of revenge. Also dealing with that conundrum of like, should I take this life or should I not? And the other thing is having to, and we'll talk about this character in a bit, because very interesting, but having Zuko join the group, where everyone for the most part, Aang, Sokka, and Toph, it's like, they all have their individual episode of Zuko, the Zuko episodes, if you will, after the Eclipse two-parter. But she's the very last one to warm up to him, pun not intended. Where she's like, I don't fucking trust you. And she, to the point where she's like, if you hurt him again, like Aang, I will kill you. And I'm like, I love it. The thing is, people are like, that's too me. It's like, no, it makes sense. The fact that he had that moment, she brings up that their meeting in the cave and how you're not a changed person. And I love that she is it's that maternal instinct kicking in. And also probably because she loves Aang. It's like, if you ever hurt him again, I will kill you. I'll put you in the grave. And I love that about her. She's fantastic. In this season, I think. I mean, I loved her in season 1, season 2. I think she's at her strongest here. And I love how they showcase her waterbending as well. So many incredible action sequences, whether it be against Hama or later on in the Eclipse or even the finale when she's fighting Azula. Was like, it's awesome. But any thoughts on Katara, like a moment that you really liked with her, or just, your general thoughts on her arc throughout this?
I definitely feel like in this season, it really sort of plays with her status as the mom friend. Like, she's definitely cracking under that pressure. It's shown a lot in that episode with Toph, where it seems like she's torn between trying to keep people in line, but also trying to endear herself to Toph and bond with her and almost be more like a big sister, I guess. And then they end up going too far with that whole thing. And I also like how in that episode it shows her waterbending her sweat, and it foreshadows just how skilled she is and the things that she's willing or able to do in moments of desperation, because that gets brought up in the bloodbending episode. And I just like how Well, it's worth mentioning when she finally helps Zuko defeat Azula, she doesn't have to use bloodbending even once. And I was worried
True.
that she would, and I wondered what that would do to her. And for that matter, I like the friendship that she develops with Zuko, and I don't think it has to be anything else. Like, I always found it weird people latched onto that. I can see where there were moments that might have teased it, but it wasn't enough that them just getting together in the end would have made sense. And I just think having them both there fighting Azula, it kind of, in a subtle way, helped bring her character arc to a close because she was able to fight for sure without using blood bending, which she also learned in the episode about her mom. But, like, you know, and also she and Zuko sort of definitely were friends after that, even after having so much friction all that time.
I agree. It's kind of it does put the hatchet in their relationship troubles between the two of them, where yes, they very much their friendship is concrete by the end of that particular episode, where they work together and where they do care about each other. Where Zuko, he literally, and we'll talk about Zuko later on and more depth, where he basically sacrifices himself for Katara at the moment. Whereas Azula, who is fucking insane in this season. And well, I want to talk about Azula because a lot of people are like, oh, she deserves redemption. It's like, no, some people don't deserve redemption. I like that they didn't have it for her. But where Azula's like, and then instead of hitting Zuko, I'm going to go for her, you know, to make him truly hurt. And he's like, shit. And he takes the full brunt of that. And I was like, oh, there you go. Now they're totally in sync of each other. And I really like that about them. So great point to focus on the Zuko and Katara relationship and how far they've come to the point where he's like, I will kill you to like, oh, I like you, man. I like you now. Any thoughts on Katara's arc, Chris Ayers or Jacob?
Her arc, especially like it's been mentioned, dealing with her coming to terms with what happened to her mom. Like we finally learn what exactly happened to her mom.
True.
And how determined she is to find the guy who killed her, to track him down. And at first, she wants to kill him, but then when the time comes where she has the opportunity, she realizes like revenge isn't the way. Like it's not going to bring me peace. And the whole point of her is to find peace within herself, and she's able to do that without killing anybody. The fact that she's able to do that speaks to a larger thing within the show about learning when to spare someone's life, because taking a life can cause so much more damage.
Yeah. And also she saw that guy was suffering living with his mother. It's like, oh, you're going to suffer far more being alive than dead. And so I kind of like that.
Yeah, it was so shitty of him to like offer up his mom.
Oh my God. Yeah. So you can kill my mom if you want. We could trade. I killed your mom. Go ahead and kill my mom. I was like, wow. You deserve to have a miserable life. But yeah, no, like I said, I think Katara is an amazing animated character, and I've always is she my favorite character in the show? Probably. I truly love her, and she's just so incredibly well written. And Mae Whitman does such a fantastic job of voicing. Like everyone across the board this season does an amazing job voicing their respective characters. I feel like they've all really matured into their roles, as these characters have matured along the way. Unless everyone has any other thoughts on Katara, we can move on to Sokka. We already kind of covered Sokka to an extent, I think, Thunder Lee, you brought up a lot of aspects of his character, dealing with, one, he's kind of always, he's been very self-conscious about his abilities. He's the non-bender of the group. And he mostly relies on his brain, but he does get those moments where he's like, I can perfect certain skills, or I can work on certain skills that I've always wanted to, where it's his swordsmanship. And I like that we have that Sokka episode right there. And it's also very funny, but he's also matures and becomes more self-confident. And then we see that again in regards to the invasion. And it's a culmination of like all these ideas he's had and his intelligence and how he's become more articulate. Like I love that during, the Day of Black Sun, that he becomes a leader. He really truly, because like it's funny. He always played soldier. He always played soldier in season 1, especially when we first meet him. And Katara like mocks him for it because it's ridiculous because he doesn't know what war is. And yet here he is a year later, commanding troops in a war. fighting against the enemy. But like that one scene of him on top of Appa leading that charge. It's like, oh, it's just the visual representation of like, and then you think back in season 1 where he has this dorky little snow fort. Like, look how much he's grown. I love that. Just have those images side by side. So, and obviously during the Sozin's Comet, leading the assault against Firelord Ozai's airships, which he had a hand in creating, which I think is very funny. It's like, oh yeah, they've upgraded them, which we'd also see like the prototype versions during the Day of Black Sun. He's like, shit, came back to bite in the ass, which I thought was very funny. Because I always thought, I'm thinking that it was the Battle of the Northern Air Temple when the Fire Nation's trying to attack those new people that live there, and they're like, oh, we're just gonna steal this fucking war balloon and use it for ourselves. I thought was very funny. But yeah, any thoughts on Sokka's arc, or just any particular moments that really stood out to you featuring the character? Oh, and his relationship with Zuko, of course, during the prison scene and him finding Suki again. But any thoughts on that?
I like how he's just a prime example of that type of character who is different in terms of how he views the world. Like that whole thing where he's training to be a swordsman, especially when he has to do any sort of art project. Like there's a part where he paints his face and just hits the parchment with it, or like he draws a really crude drawing of this really beautiful landscape, but he adds a rainbow to it, and you can tell that the teacher is just very endeared to him in that moment. I found it endearing, actually. It's just like he mentions it towards the end of that episode, that he likes Sokka's mind, and he in a way has the mind of a warrior.
Yeah, no, fully agree. I love that, where we see Sokka being Sokka in the best way possible. And he's a goof, but he is the most endearing goof, and one that is competent. I think I talked about yesterday. I talked about in regards to, like, I recently saw Resident Evil, and like you can have like a goofy character in a movie, but if that's just all that defines them, if they're not competent, then they quickly become annoying, and that's what prevents Sokka from becoming annoying in this series or in this season, is that there are aspects to his character which showcase his competence and his intelligence and his skill, but he's also just really funny too, and that's what works so well about him, and what makes him so endearing, as you said. If anyone else has any thoughts on Sokka, let me know. But we could also just move on to Toph, and Toph is an interesting one for me, because I feel like out of all the characters in this season, she probably gets the least amount to do. Like even she doesn't get, like, she even remarks like, I didn't have my little adventure with Zuko, where everyone else did. Not that she's bad or that she doesn't have some great moments or interactions with the characters, but I feel like that she is the one that the writers kind of like, we don't really know what to do with Toph at this point. Did anyone else feel that way about Toph? Or maybe again, it's been a while since I've watched a number of clips, but I noticed that the clips I was watching didn't really have a big focus on Toph. Still, obviously, lusting after Sokka, and is very jealous of Suki. But did anyone have any thoughts on Toph in general?
Toph did kind of have. Well, she did have one episode, but with that episode, it was like, oh, she's scamming the scammers. That right. Was the whole episode, which was like, I think it's funny that she's using her earthbending to like scam the scammers, but that she ends up scamming other people too.
Mm-hmm.
But like, what that episode really did was also try to like connect her with the other characters, especially with
Katara,
where they really just use her to build up other characters, and yeah. she was useful during like the raiding, during the battles, yeah, but she wasn't really used much.
Yeah, I thought she was. Yeah, no, I agree. I think of all the characters this season where there was so much time spent focusing on Aang and Katara and Sokka and Zuko, that she kind of got the shaft. And she was mostly, I mean, yeah, they showcased her physical prowess, of course. I mean, that scene when she, especially when in the, you know, when it comes to like the really cool action scenes, I think that's when my mind tends to like, oh yeah, when Toph made that fucking armored suit, you know, at the invasion, and I thought that was amazing. I thought that was so goddamn cool. And how she's like using metal now, incorporating it so much with her earthbending. I really like that. Some great visual stuff with her, or some of the more comedic things when she pretends to be the Fire Lord, the Melon Lord. I thought was great during Aang's training and how that even traumatizes him. But yeah, I just felt like out of everything, if I have a criticism for season 3, it felt like the writers are like, we don't really know what to do with this character now, other than have her be really cool, and she is, you know, and showcase her bending abilities. But there wasn't like a big. Like emotional moment that stood out to me, other than maybe of, you know, her bonding with Katara, where they had that. Whereas Cassie brought up earlier, where Katara is very much that kind of big sister to Toph's little sister.
Yeah, I think they kind of also use her to like continue the joke of she's blind. Like, that's
yeah, they repeat that gag again.
Yeah, it's like it's over and over. I'm like, okay.
Yeah. But moving on from, does anyone have any thoughts on Toph? Chris Ayers, Kazfe? You feel like maybe I'm wrong or I'm being too hard on her?
No, I'm not. I haven't had a problem with Toph's screen time in this season so far. In fact, she's still had so many like awesome gags, especially during the episode when they go to see the play, and she's the only one who's happy with how she's portrayed, because she's like the big, like Schwarzenegger level tough guy who's the badass. It's like, yes, I love this. It's like, and she like, even when, you know, she is constantly like fucking with the rest of the group and like punking them, and even then it's like that's probably like my favorite moment with her through the whole season.
I do want to talk about the Ember Island players, because that is the episode before the finale. It's like, hey, it's a calm before the storm. We're just having fun. We're goofing off, because that is a very much a self-aware episode where they do poke fun of the series itself in certain episodes, and I really want to get into that. We'll talk about our favorite episodes and moments and things, because that's a whole segment right there. But I do love it how she's the only one that likes her interpretation. Everyone else is super resentful of how they're being portrayed, which I think is funny. But Kazfe, do you have any thoughts on Toph? I don't know if you had anything else to say on her.
I liked the fact that they let her be a badass in the scenes that it was necessary. So, like, definitely they wouldn't have survived without her. I do agree that she should have had maybe more character moments. Like, I think they played with the idea of her resolving things with her parents again and didn't really move forward with it. But I can see where there also wouldn't have been room for that. Maybe they were going to continue it later. But I don't know. I guess at least it wasn't too glaring. And I also like that she was so forgiving of Zuko. And I think that really helped everyone else become more forgiving of him, because she was the one who got burned by him. But she's still like, well, I don't think he meant to, at least. Which I didn't think she would. Like, I thought she'd hate him.
Yeah, that's a good point, where she was probably the most accepting of Zuko at first. Where it's like, that's kind of her general attitude. Where I guess she is, you even know she can be a little rough and too blunt, and maybe she can rub people the wrong way to a certain extent, especially with someone like Katara. It's like she was one of the most agreeable people that interacted with him initially, which I thought was interesting. And that's probably what Zuko needed too, because he's like, I can't have everybody hate me at first. So I kind of like that they had a nice rapport. I guess that's why they didn't have an episode where they spent time together, where they didn't have like the duo of Zuko and Toph. But I wouldn't have minded that. I wouldn't have minded that personally. And then of course, hey, we're talking about Zuko right now. Much like Aang, he had an incredible journey throughout all these seasons, and here he's found himself in a very complicated position of gotten everything he could have wanted. He's back with the Fire Nation. You know, he believes he has the love and respect of his father. He has a goth girlfriend in Mai. You know, I mean, the people seemingly love him. He has everything that he could ever want, and yet he's still unhappy. And yet he's still dealing with all of this guilt. And it's not the first episode where he's like, I changed my mind. It's like, it takes some time. It takes a few episodes, where even to the point where he learns that Azula gave him credit for killing the Avatar. He's like, okay, I got to make sure that fucker is dead. So I'm going to send Sparky Boom Boom Man to go after him and kill him for me. And so he's still doing all these things. But then finally realizing, like, you know, especially with his uncle and how Uncle Iroh has seemingly turned his back on Zuko, and him realizing his mistake and realizing that he's hurt the people maybe he's truly loved and who have loved him. Realizing that mistake has been made, wanting to make better on it, even though of his previous decisions have caused a lot of chaos and pain, and going to the Gain and trying to beg for their forgiveness, and them initially rejecting him until he proves himself, and then becoming friends with them, going on the Zuko episodes, if you will, of him spending time with all these people, showcasing how he's changed, how he wants to do better, how he wants to be a good friend to them. I loved his journey, where he started out, as we initially believed, this very angry, confused, villainous character, to this person who has grown so much, who has become so much psychologically, emotionally healthy by the time we get to the end, by being friends. Like, I love that moment when him and Aang hug at the end of the series, as he's crowned the new Fire Lord. It's a beautiful culmination in a journey that has hurt him, probably other than Aang, has hurt him the most. But I loved how they did the Zuko. Dante Bosco does a fantastic job voicing the character. I mean, there's so many moments with him throughout this entire season we can go into, and I'll just lead up to you guys. Was any thoughts on Zuko and any particular moments that, like, this really hit you with him?
I think Zuko, I really liked his dynamic with May, first of all. Like,
yeah, it's cute.
It's like, at first it seems like they're so similar in the way they both kind of hate the world, and they're kind of doom and gloom. And in that Ember Island episode, when they're at the beach, they're both huddled under the parasol just behind Azula and Ty Lee. And I just love how that really establishes who they are as a couple. But then later on in that same episode, it shows that, like, May is so closed off, and Zuko, he's learning how to get in touch with his emotions, but he's also struggling to control them. And she calls him on it. It's like, your temper is out of control. And he's like, well, at least I know how to feel something, etc. And, you know, I'm glad that, like, throughout that episode, they both are able to help each other through those issues. And I'm glad, you know, he had to confront May again at Boiling Rock, which is also one of my favorite episodes this season. And it really, I think he wanted to ask her to go with him initially. I think that's why he blew her off with a note, which is the thing that pissed her off the most. And I think he was still fighting with his feelings for her. And I'm glad that she eventually wound up siding with him. And I'm sorry if I went on a tangent about her as well as him. I like the way she served as a foil to him, where, like, they're so similar, but also so different.
I love the relationship in the show. I think it's adorable. And where, great point about, she even says later on, just because I'm trying to remember the exact lines, but even though I don't say it, doesn't mean I don't feel this way. You know, I don't express myself, doesn't mean that I don't feel, you know, how I do towards you, you know, but you got to talk to me, goddammit. And I like that about her, and their relationship is super cute. And you're right, Boiling Rock episode, which is part 1, part 2. That's a 2-parter. It's a Prison Break episode, which I think is so cool, and him and Sokka bonding. And I'm glad that both Mai and Ty Lee were like, this fucking Azula girl's out of her goddamn mind. I mean, they already knew that, but they're like, okay, this has gone too far. Because Azula at that point is like, I'm going to kill you, Zuko. I'm just here to kill you. And they're like, nope. And I love that they finally weren't like, okay, we have to fight against her. And I thought that was great. Great kind of culmination to their respective arcs, and just realizing we can't fight this war when we know we're on the wrong side of it, and we're dealing with a psychopath. And we're friends, quote unquote, friends of a psychopath. Any other thoughts from anyone else in regards to Zuko this particular season?
I like the fact that Zuko, like, he very much completes his transformation into a hero in this season.
Yeah.
And I love the struggling that it takes for him to reach that point because he sucks at expressing himself so hard and making his opinions known to people. And he's not a people person at all. Like, it's so goddamn awkward for him to like try to become friends with the main team, with the main heroes.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes it even more satisfying when he finally does cross the line with them, and you know they officially trust him and he becomes their friend. And when he finally reconciles with Uncle Iroh, like, that scene was beautiful.
Yeah, when they're both crying. And Uncle Iroh, I'm glad you actually mentioned him. Sadly, Mako, who was the original voice actor, he had passed away before he could record, and that's why Iroh has so few lines this season.
Yeah, and
why
I
he's
noticed
mostly
that
silenced.
I noticed that watching it, like, they're really going out of their way to give him as little dialogue as they possibly can.
He is voiced by Greg Baldwin, who, funny enough, would go on to voice Aku in the 5th season of Samurai Jack, who Mako famously voiced in the previous 4 seasons. He when he does voice Iroh, I think he does a good job. It's not exactly Mako. And it's not his fault. I mean, that is always difficult for an actor to come in and then you're replacing this iconic character, beloved character. Like, everyone loves Iroh. He's the grandfather. He's the uncle that you would absolutely want in your life, like that rock. And so I don't, and I understood the struggle of the writers. Like, shit, it must have been very difficult for them. How do we write around the passing of an actor? But I do think that those emotional moments hit very hard when Iroh and Zuko finally have that conversation where they embrace, where Iroh forgives Zuko. It's beautiful. It's a very beautiful moment.
And to give credit to the actor, if I hadn't known what was going on with Mako and the whole thing, like, if I knew nothing about that going in, I probably wouldn't have noticed any difference in the voice.
Yeah. No, it's a good point. No, he does a very good job. He does a very good job. There's one other moment with Zuko that just really stood out to me, and it's when he finally goes to confront his father during the Eclipse episodes, during that 2-parter, where, and again, voiced by Mark Hamill, who does get more to do this time, and how he's just realized after all this time, like, he finally says what we've been all thinking is, like, what you did to me all those years ago when you physically deformed me was wrong. And it's like, yes, yes. And it's like, you never loved me. And I finally realized that now, and my efforts to get your respect and love for all these years was a waste. And I know that what a piece of shit you are. And I'm like, God. And then Ozai's like, yeah. And he tries to kill him. And then he tries to fucking kill his own son. Just like, yeah, you just know that Ozai just had this resentment towards his son. Always viewed Zuko as weak. And in that moment, when soon as the fucking eclipse passes, when the little bit of that sun's peeking through, his first thought is to kill his son. Just showing what a sick individual he is. But I love that Zuko was able to fight back against him. They don't really... I think that's the last time him and his father see each other until the very, very, very last episode of the season, when he goes to confront him about his mother, which is one of the arcs that is not wrapped up in this series. It's done in the comic books, but the writers realized, oh, fucking shit, we have so many subplots that we forgot to close, and that's one of the big ones, is the Zuko's mother, which is resolved. So if you want to check out the comic, you want to see how that plays out, I recommend it. But that was always a moment that really stuck out to me, is like him finally, because that needed to happen, him confronting his father, telling him what a shitty dad you are, which I think is so funny because it's Mark Hamill, who famously played a son confronting his shitty dad multiple times. But Thunderly, did you have like a moment with Zuko? I know you're only 10 episodes in. I know we mentioned a lot of stuff that were like post episode 10. But anything in particular that stood out to you with him in those first episodes you've seen?
Well, the beach episode where he's trying to figure out what emotions he's having, which is like one of my favorite things, because he's conflicted on the decisions that he made, and he doesn't know what he really wanted. Another one was the next episode, the Avatar and the Fire. What was it? The Fire.
Oh, yeah, the Firelord, the Avatar, and the Firelord. The one that it's the flashback episode that deals with Aang learning about Avatar Roku, and Zuko learning about, I think, is it Sozin? It's Sozin, his ancestor. Yeah. That's great. No, keep going.
And like how he found out, like when he read the whole thing, he was like, "Oh, this is obvious." Like trying to still be angry at Uncle, but then when Uncle told him like the truth, it was like, "Oh shit."
Yeah, we learned that in regards to what Thunderlee is referencing, Avatar Roku is Zuko's great grandfather.
Yeah,
and so it that's a connection between him and Aang. And he's like, "Ah, Jesus," and which makes him feel even more guilty about all of his choices. That flash episode goes so.
Yeah.
See, I forgot to mention that there's so many great episodes this season. The sheer amount of content, like something we have to return to this series and just talk about individual episodes and arcs. There's so much to them. But like, I loved how it explored that friendship between the Avatar and the Firelord, and how they started off as really good friends, but how cultures and the powers that be and time has changed them so thoroughly, and where Sozin makes the choice to let Avatar. We find out what caused Avatar Roku's death, which then brought Aang into the world, which is like Sozin abandoned his friend to die in that volcano, to suffocate, to die of smoke inhalation, and it's like, Jesus.
After
and like
he refused to, after Avatar, Roku refused to let his friend die.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, he could have killed him, but he chose not to do it.
Yeah.
It's no, go ahead.
And he was backstabbed right after that. Like, that is, to me, that was my favorite episode, because you get to see like kind of like the origins of
very much so.
Started the whole thing.
Started the war.
Yeah.
Because he knew, like Sozin knew, it's like the only way I can put my plan in the action is to kill you, to get you out of here. Mm-hmm. And then he commits genocide upon the Air Nomads right after that, 12 years later. Which is it's like, well, yeah, you shows how far that man has fallen. Mm-hmm. And so, but yeah, I love that when Zuko learns about that. I think that's great. Does anyone have any last minute thoughts about Zuko before moving on to his evil counterpart?
Just that I really loved the episode that he had with Aang, where they learn firebending from those dragons, and they learn that whole dragon dance and everything. I thought that was a good little adventure for them to go on, and their friendship really does bring things full circle as far as Sozin and Roku. And it's a very healing episode to watch in that aspect, but also it's also a beautiful moment to realize that not all the dragons are gone. And it's also funny at the end where they do the dragon dance, and everyone kind of roasts them for it.
It's cute. I totally agree. That's out of all the characters, those are the two that needed that episode, because they have been rivals. It's, hero v villain for them for 2+ seasons, and so they needed that. They need to put that to bed and finally bond and realize they have more in common than they do differences, and they have that shared history of each other, which is beautiful. So I really like that as well, and of course it has the humor in there too, which is so good. Unlike Zuko, who finally has a happy ending and learns to grow as a person, we have his sister Azula, who completely loses it after this particular season, where this is where we really start to get into just how insane she is, and the abuse of her father, the effect that it's had on her, and how she just can't really function in society or even in a leadership-esque position. I love seeing her unravel, particularly in those last 10 episodes. Where, it reminded me, even though the movie had come out years later, but in The Favorite with Olivia Colman, and it's like the Queen, and how she's always constantly screaming at people like, look at me, dog, what are you doing? And I just love that, and that's what Azula is. She's a crazed monarch who has all this power. She doesn't know what to do with it, and she should not be in the position that she's in, and she's dealing with mental illness, but she's also just a sadistic piece of shit. And one of my things that I appreciate, because this has been a criticism lobbied at this particular season, And it was that Azula deserved redemption. And I'm like, after everything she's done, some people don't deserve redemption. Some people are just bad people. And I love how it ends with her after being, because she's not firing on all cylinders. She's not at her peak anymore.
Not at all.
Zuko is a better firebender than her by the end. I mean, Katara is, finally is the one that defeats her, but Zuko would have defeated her. And how she ends up just sobbing and laughing and firing off her firebending erratic, because that was just so satisfying to see this character who came off so cool, so self-confident, but inside is just so tumultuous, and it's finally out there. And so it was very cathartic for me to see Azula at that state. But even before then, all these little moments where it's like, oh shit, you can't function normally, even after all this stuff is done. Even if you win, someone would have had to deal with you in some way after all this shit was done. But any thoughts on Azula and her arc and her, her complete unraveling?
I would say, like, just the fact that she was so wrapped up in all of her, like, bad bitch girl boss type energy. In a way, it almost made her naive, because there were people right under her nose who clearly didn't like her. Like, her two best friends weren't going to stick around much longer for her because they only feared her. And it's like she was so unbelievably caught off guard by that. Yeah. It's like when Ty Lee takes her out in that one scene, there's that look of oh shit in her eyes where she really didn't think that would happen. She really, like the rest of us all did. And it's just really sad, like you said, because especially in the beach episode, you see that like that type of I'm going to make you fear me thing. It's not cool. No one wants to hang out with you. No one wants to date you. It's not going to get you anywhere. And eventually, yeah, she just breaks down.
Yeah, it's it just shows how she's completely unaware of her reality, because she has been in this position of power for so long, and because she's manipulated people, she feels like, well, they're under my thumb, they're not going to betray me anyway. And so I like that when she's even surprised when her quote unquote friends inevitably do betray her, even though it's obvious to all of us. Like even how we're introduced to those characters of Mai and Ty Lee, especially Ty Lee, where she basically threatens Ty Lee into joining her on her journey to hunt down her brother and Avatar Aang. But she's like, no, this is how it is. This is how friendships work. Of course you manipulate and you backstab each other. That's how it is. Any other thoughts on Azula in this particular season?
Yeah, Azula, it's funny because before I used to think she was kind of one note, but now seeing her get more and more crazy and just seeing how much of a hyper bitch she is, I like that character so much more this season. And yeah, it's like her evilness, like, and how far she takes it kind of like helps you to let go all of the bad shit that Zuko's done in the past, because she's so much worse. Yeah.
Yeah. Even isn't this the episode where I could be thinking of another one? Isn't the flashback one with Zuko with his mom, and you see where Azula is just acting like a little shit, and the mom even says there's something wrong with that child. Is it this episode or is it the previous one, or is it the previous season?
I'm trying to remember. I think it's season 2. Yeah,
season 2. Okay, but again, even the signs were there. I'm raising a psychopath, but it just shows that like even the mother's like I don't know how to deal with you. She like clearly I don't think she has any love for her daughter, and based on how she acts. And Ozai, he ain't exactly. Yes, he I think maybe respects his daughter or he views her as an extremely useful tool, but there's no love in that relationship, not real love. Now, though, I don't think Ozai knows what real love is, nor does Azula, because I don't think they've experienced that. But yeah, now. Yes, this season ends with Azula just becoming a blathering psychopath. I know that in the comics, they continued to explore her. And they gave her, in a way, a sort of redemption where she is constantly dealing with her insanity. And there's some particular arc where I think the Fire Nation is under threat and Zuko needs his sister. And he's got her like on a super short leash. But in her insanity, she believes that the only way for the Fire Nation to continue, because the Fire Nation is under a lot of pressure because of the war for 100 years. So you have a lot of people are like, reparations, goddammit. And she's like, the only way that the Fire Nation can continue on is if Zuko attains more power. And anyone who threatens, like even other like Fire Nation generals, are questioning Zuko, and so she makes it her mission in life from the shadows, because she even leaves famously, and she starts this organization where it's meant to eliminate enemies of the Fire Nation and any threats to Zuko's rule. And so she's like, I'm gonna help my brother, but in like a really manipulative, evil way. It's kind of fascinating. And that was like the last time they touched on her character in the comics. I don't know if she's gonna come back and if that's gonna change. But she like forms this shadow organization meant to help her brother, but he's unaware of it. It's very fascinating to me. So I don't know if we'll ever return to that. But for a lot of people, this is how the character ends, just as an insane person. Moving on from Azula. We could continue to talk about her as well. The other villain in this, being Firelord Ozai, who does get the most screen time. Ozai, for a lot of people, like my favorite villain in the series is definitely Azula, and where Ozai has kind of just been relegated as you are the final boss, you are the big bad. That's what it's always been. What's Aang's quest? You need to defeat the Firelord. That's how it is, and he's always been used in flashbacks. Always got a little bit of dialogue. Here we see Ozai the most, and how awful his familial situation is, whether it was with his wife or with his children, and also his multiple genocidal tendencies. But and he is one note where I think Azula becomes more multifaceted as it goes on. Ozai is very much one note, but thankfully it's improved upon the fact that it's voiced by Mark Hamill, who is he's not doing Joker, but he's doing like a super subdued Joker. It's close. I mean, it's close, but it works for me. It works for me, and he's doing his evil villain voice, and I like it. And man, that last battle between him, and we'll talk about some of the animation and some of our favorite moments, but that last battle between him and Aang is incredible. That's like all the animation. Nickelodeon just said like, take our money and go, and I love that sequence with them at the end. And like Firelord, like he's getting jet fire boots. Like he's so powerful because of Sozin's Comet. He's able to use his fire bending to fly around. I just think that was amazing. While Aang is in the Avatar state, I think that was great. It's like I was like, okay, like how are you gonna live up to that big finish? You're saying he's gonna fight the Firelord. It's like, okay, we know that, and I think they do that incredibly well. I was like, oh, you fucking nailed it. Thank God. You thought that was like, oh, it's gonna be disappointing. I don't think it was. But any thoughts on Ozai as a character and how he was used this season as the big bad? There you go. No, he's just the main villain. He's just. I mean, that's what he is. He's the final threat. I mean, I would have liked to have gotten maybe a little more character development for Ozai, but maybe that was never in the cards. Maybe he was just supposed to be the Emperor Palpatine, if you will. It's like he's just evil. Why? He just is. He's just a piece of shit. And so I guess that's how you could think of it that way in terms of Star Wars terms, if you will.
He's a formidable threat.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, he's formidable threat, incredible physical threat. But when it comes to maybe the development or the emotional psychological villain, we think of someone like an Azula or a Hama. I think they're stronger written characters this season than Ozai. But I still respect them. And I love that last little conversation when Ozai is just this beaten fucking man in prison, and Zuko goes to confront him about his mother. Where's my mother? In which we do learn about that in the comics, though, sadly. You get to explore that in the season. Even though they said they wanted to, they just realized it would take too many episodes, and they didn't have... They got that extra one from Nickelodeon, but they said they couldn't get any more. So it was too bad. But is there any other character moments? Because now we can get into like our favorite episodes and just moments in general in the season. Is there like another character you wanted to mention? Because obviously we had Suki return. When she wasn't killed. She was sent to the Boiling Rock. We had a couple of character cameos from previous seasons and a lot of like some fan service, of course, especially like when we get to the Ember Island players. But is there any other character moments or a certain character you guys wanted to bring up beforehand that we have not already done so?
One character that I wanted to bring up is Katara and Sokka's dad, who this is probably like he has way more screen time in this season than he did in the last season, right?
Yes, he does.
Yeah, and I really like his dynamic with the two of them because like a lesser show probably would have had a lot more of a distant feeling between them, like more strained, or he would have been an asshole for no real reason, or just for because you didn't live up to my full potential or some bullshit like that. But no, the fact that like when he gets back up with them, it's just like old times, and they're so happy to see each other, and it's still like that loving bond between the three of them. I really like that, and he proves himself to be like a formidable soldier and a leader.
Yeah, no, fully agree. I'm trying to remember after the oh god, what's Sokka and Katara's father's name? Hakoda. That's it. That's what I'm trying to remember. But no, I'm glad we got to see more of Katara and Sokka's father, and more hints at her mother, of course, as well. Any other characters you guys wanted to bring up before we move on to like favorite episodes and like moments of the series?
I would say that Suki was pretty badass this season, although I wish we had seen more of her. I wish maybe they'd found a way to bring her back sooner, because like it did take a while to get to the Boiling Rock episode. But the part where she captures the warden and everything, that was so badass. She's able to keep up with everyone in spite of having no bending abilities.
Much like Sokka. I mean, her fight sequences, which are very hand to hand, were great. And I like you. I wish she got more episodes. So she was a fan favorite. She had that one episode in season 1. She had a couple of those episodes in season 2, and she does get, I think, probably more screen time than ever. But I would have liked, like you, I would have liked to have seen more of her this season as well. And it also gives Sokka a win because first girlfriend died. Turn into the moon, turn into like a moon god. Isn't that funny? Goddamn, what's that joke that I always see all the time? That's rough, buddy. That's what it is. where Zuko's asking about Suki, and because they think that she's at the prison, and what happened to the other one? She turned into a moon. That's rough, buddy. I like that. He's like, what? Oh yeah, I remember that. I'm glad you brought up Suki, because remember that one moment. It was, I think it was in the Nightmare and Daydreams episode when Aang was fucking hallucinating the whole time. And he goes because he thinks, I'm going to go in the Katara's tent. I'm going to talk to her about us and stuff. And he goes into, or no, is it Zuko? Maybe it was Zuko.
It was Zuko. Thank you.
It was Zuko. And so this must have been afterwards. Yeah, this guy, of course it was, because the Suki and stuff was after the Eclipse episodes. And so he goes in there, because I think it's in regards to Katara. That's what the episode is, the Southern Raiders. And so he goes in there because he wants to talk to Sokka about Katara. And Sokka is just like, he has that fucking rose in his mouth. And he's like, well, hello, Suki. He's like, oh, shit. Whereas, like, were him and Suki going to fucking have sex? I think, like, it's highly implied there was going to be some romanticism between them. I'm like, okay, I see what you're doing here. You horny animators.
I think it's implied that they did. Yeah. Like, after Zuko left and everything. And the thing is, Zuko was so oblivious in that moment. He just sits down and he's like, hey, what's up?
Doesn't understand. And Sokka's like, okay, what do I got to say to this guy to get him out of here? That's great. Yeah, hey, these kids aren't kids anymore. They're getting older. So I kind of like that. Honestly, there's like a lot of scenes in this particular season where they're showcasing the characters that they're older, like how they've aged, how much older they've gotten. Remember that one episode? I think it was in The Painted Lady, where Katara is like taking a bath. You remember that? When she's underneath that cliff, or maybe it's the one. No, it's one with Toph. I think it's the one with Toph, and she's doing her scams. But you see Katara, and she's underneath that cliff, and she's naked, except she's in the water, so you don't see anything. But it's like, whoa! I was kind of blown away by that. Did that stand out as weird to you in this for like a cartoon of this nature? Was that just me? Am I just weird? And I'm thinking, like, is Katara naked?
Yeah, you're weird.
Yeah, you're weird.
I think I do remember some scenes where, like, they were dressed down a bit, or I don't know. Like, I was more. What stuck out to me was just how, as the series went along, they became more like disheveled looking.
Yeah, they just stopped caring. They do change their wardrobes in this season because they are blending with the Fire Nation. And so I think for the most time they are in those Fire Nation outfits, which I thought was cool. I'm glad that because you also often see in animation, like, we are not changing the look of the characters. We're going to use these exact same character models again and again and again because it's easier. I understand that, but here it's like, no, we're going to make the effort, which indicates to me that they got more money because now they're going to change it up and stuff. But I just noticed, basically my point is, I just noticed how they matured the characters and maybe put them in situations that we don't normally see children. Like, they're very much, they're turning into teenagers at this point. And I was like, oh, I just thought that was interesting. Just it stood out to me, whether it was with Sokka or maybe with Katara or whoever else. So I thought that was kind of cool. But kind of moving on from that, unless anyone has any last minute thoughts about any other characters, like Suki, of course, is a great one. I really liked how they used her. Would have liked to have seen more. Any other thoughts before we move on? Okay. This is the last portion, guys, and this, of course, is all about our favorites, our favorite episodes, and our favorite moments. There are so many this particular season. You know, I know it's I'll start with like a couple. I don't want to take all of them for myself, but I really did like the headband episode, which we got to see more of Fire Nation society, and it was a little more fun in nature, especially after the first episode being so sad and Aang just dealing with his failure and being so incredibly depressed and just physically emaciated. So to have him where he's like, okay, you're going to get a bit of a win. You're going to be able to charm the lady who you love. I thought that was really great. Obviously, the puppet master of Hama showing the effects of the war and trauma on these people, showcasing a truly terrifying aspect of waterbending. I think that's when waterbending became my favorite. After that, it was this episode. Oh, okay, this is really fucking cool. I love that. And just having a horror episode, I think is so fun because I'm so into the horror genre. Obviously, Sozin's Comet, seeing all these characters come back together and bond over their mutual history, even though it sadly ends in failure, and many of them being captured and imprisoned. And there's so many. The Zuko-esque episodes are all great, and where each person gets like a moment to bond with him. No exception of Toph. But she was like, you're good with my book. But then of course the finale. Oh, and Ember Iron Players, where they got to see that play, and it was such a here wink and a nod. Is the fan episode where we get to poke fun at ourselves and things. Like I even loved how in that episode, Ember Island Players, where they're covering certain notable moments in the history of the show, and how they chose to cover the Divide, which is regarded as like the weakest episode in the series, and where they're flying over the Great Divide, the actors are going, "Oh, there it is, the Great Divide." We can just keep going. and I love that because everyone's like, yeah, no one likes that episode, which I thought was quite funny. And then the finale, which I think has great animation, whether it be that. Oh, and the music, by the way. The music, whether it was the duel between Aang and Ozai, but also between Zuko and Azula, beautiful. That Agni Kai, how it's the Agni Kai theme slowed down from the original first season when Zuko battles like Zhao, and I was like, that is so cool how they did that. So yeah, there's so many moments that I truly loved, and then finally getting the Katane moment where their love was finally where Aang's affections were mutual. Katara also had the same affections towards Aang, so to see that come to fruition was great for me. But we'll just go down the line. Starting with Kazfe, your favorite episodes and some of your favorite moments of this season, the last season of Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Well, I'd say that Boiling Rock was a big one. It had a lot of pivotal character moments, especially with May and Ty Lee and Zuko and everything. You know, Zuko and May have their talk, and I remember that moment where he shuts the door on her because he still doesn't trust her to be on his side. And the way they look at each other, like you can see it in her eyes that she's going to side with him later. And then she's like throwing knives. And I love all the moments that showcase her knife throwing. Like she's another one who's really good at keeping up with everybody. And she's like, I'm saving the jerk who dumped me. I freaking love that line.
That is a good line.
The moment, again, I think I already mentioned where Ty Lee takes down Azula, and even she seems surprised that she did that, like she decided in that moment where she wanted to go. And it just, what else? The beach one, just watching the villainous characters sort through all their emotions, and also how in the Ember Island Players, there was that undercurrent of dread because they're watching propaganda, and with the way the play ends, it's them all dying.
Yeah. Yeah. No, so many great examples. I do appreciate, even though it's like, in regards to like the beach episode, with like Azula. They do at least take some time to showcase her own personal and emotional struggles, even though we do see where she finally ends up. And so I did like that. At least they had those episodes. We're just not going to have villains be just like mustache twirling type of characters. Like there are obvious reasons as to why they are the way they are. So it's great. So yeah, all great choices. All great choices. What about for you, Thunderly? I know you didn't see all of it. And I know we spoiled a whole bunch of shit for you. But of what you have seen, did you have any favorite moments or particular episodes?
Yeah. Out of the 10 episodes with the two-parter in episode 10, I enjoyed the headband. I feel like Aang just having his kids moment is kind of what he needed, to be honest, to get away from all the war stuff. Especially the dance scene. I also like Sokka's. I'm messing up here a lot.
Sokka. Yeah, I get you.
Sokka's master. That one, I felt like that he needed that episode so he could become more of like his character could be built up more for like the later episodes. So that one's perfect. I really do like the Avatar and the Firelord just because of the backstory of the whole series. As a horror fan, the Puppet Master is perfect for the atmosphere that it had in there, and for them to introduce blood bending is just something that really is like scary, because getting your blood used to like do anything that you don't want to do is just really, scary.
Yeah, no, it is definitely.
And
keep
sorry.
going. No, keep
going.
going.
And the Day of the Black Sun, I also enjoyed too.
Yeah, no, the initial invasion, two-parter is quite good, especially because I remember when that happened, I was like, oh shit, we're already here, but we're only at the halfway point. That's not good.
And then you see that there's more episodes left. Like, this is not gonna end well.
Yeah, then they can just do it to Fallout if they win. Oh, what are you gonna say, Catsway?
Oh, sorry. I just wanted to add, in Day of Black Sun, it's revealed later, King Boomy got to have his moment during that eclipse.
Oh, that's right. I'm glad you mentioned that. We didn't really talk about the White Lotus, which is an organization that we heard about in season 2 that Iroh is clearly a part of. And they actually get more to do in Legend of Korra. The organization is expanded upon. Talk about them a lot, and they're featured a lot. But it's like the secret society that every member of every nation is, or a lot of like certain characters that we've come across before are members of. And so the Swordsman is a part of the White Lotus organization. We see, King Boomy is a part of that organization. Iroh is a part of it. The waterbending master from season 1. Was it Paka? Grandmaster, I'm trying to remember his name, but that guy, the one that Katara was fighting with, he's a part of it. And also Aang's original firebending teacher, he's also a part of that organization. And they lead the battle to take back Ba Sing Se from the Fire Nation, which I thought was great. We didn't really talk about that, but I did like that. It was like, oh shit, he's part of the secret society, and then that's part of the 4-part finale. So no, thanks for mentioning that. What about yourself, Chris Ayers? Was there your favorite episodes, your favorite moments of this series?
Favorite episode was probably the Ember Island Players.
Yeah,
that kind of recaps the whole series, just because it gives you a nice breather before the big holy fucking shit finale, because you kind of need that, before you go into something that grand and so epic. You kind of need a chance to breathe, and so that was the perfect episode for that. And it also gives you the feeling of like, fuck, I've been following these guys for a long ass time. It makes me feel old. So yeah, it adds to that, that sense of like history and that feeling of like, this has been a journey that I've gone on with these characters, and it adds to the emotion. There's so many favorite moments that it's hard to pick. Probably a lot of my favorite moments are when Zuko is coming into the group and making amends with everybody and becoming their friend, and it's so satisfying to see his journey complete.
Yeah, I'm so happy that he got that ending where he finally found what he wanted, and it wasn't originally what he thought it was going to be, and it usually never is. Usually, it's things always change along the way. Like even has that moment, I think, in an earlier episode where he finally gets to sit beside his father, which he's always wanted. Mai asks him about that, and he's like, "I always wanted that, but it didn't feel right. I didn't like it." I thought that was beautiful. So he finally gets an ending, and it culminates, I think, in that hug with Aang, which shows how fucking far they've come. How they've tried to kill each other for so many episodes beforehand, or at least fuck each other up. Yeah, it's and there's other moments in this series that get the Ember Island players, like how they're all frustrated by their own interpretations. Sokka's character is like ugly looking, and he's a dork. I thought that was really funny. Katara's character is this big bosomed woman who's constantly crying and is playing the damsel in distress. She's like, what the fuck? Toph is the only one being happy about her portrayal. About this big screaming. Basically, he is The Rock. It's Dwayne The Rock Johnson playing her.
Honestly,
Zuko,
it's kind of like if Michael Bay directed an adaptation of the show.
Yes, that's great. That's a great point. Very much so. And I also like just to finish the thought. Just Zuko. He's like, I'm not really that whiny, am I? And that emo, and like he's super emo in that. And then Aang's played by a girl. He's like, am I a girl? I thought that was adorable. And how even the play ends with like they're all killed by Ozai. It's like, oh yeah, this is Fire Nation propaganda, right? So
I love how Sokka snuck backstage to give the guy jokes. Or Suki got him backstage.
That's right. That's good. It's like, and the guy's like, yeah, I got it, thanks. Well, he takes one of the jokes, right? He uses one of the jokes.
He uses a couple.
That's right. Yeah, no, that was that. And you're right, Chris Ayers. That was the kind of episode where we need that calm before the storm. We need to have a laugh. And that episode was very much made for the fans. And also it's also as an important emotional moment where Katara's like, I'm not ready to be in a relationship with you. And Aang's like, let me kiss you. She's like, get away from me. And I like that too. Because of everything that it was just so confusing. And they all could die the next day or several days later. So I get that. I thought that was great. Yeah, that kind of brings an end to our discussion of Avatar: The Last Airbender, Book 3, Fire. This was great to do this with you guys. Thank you, Kazfae. Thank you, Thunderly. Thank you, Chris Ayers. I imagine someday we will return to the world of Avatar, maybe talk about individual episodes. But I think we did a good job of thoroughly covering certain things. Also, one other thing. I loved how, Sokka just threw his fucking boomerang at Sparky Boom Boom Man and just killed him. Like he backfired and that's right. Blocked his chi and his head just explodes, I assume. I was like, oh wow. And so that was good. Sokka got the win there. Didn't even realize that he killed that guy. That was funny. Who's very much just and he doesn't even have any lines. I think he's just a silent assassin that they're all terrified of. I like that he has like a metal leg and things. But I just want to bring that up. I was like, oh yeah, didn't Sokka kill somebody? Yeah, he killed that guy. But yeah, no, this was such a fun discussion. It was a nice little intimate group. So it made for a lot of great little conversations and back and forth. But for those of you who are listening to this right now, I hope you enjoyed this and let us know what some of your favorite moments or episodes of Avatar: The Last Airbender Season 3 were. And I'm sure we'll turn to these topics someday soon. And obviously I want to also talk about Legend of Korra as well. Those seasons might be easier to review since those are less episodes. Usually they're only about 10 or 12 episodes per season. So that I'd be interested in talking about because I've not seen that in quite some time. And I have very mixed feelings on that series. And certain seasons I love and others I just do not. And so I think that'll make for a really good conversation. But any last minute thoughts from everyone before we leave? If you have something else to say or to the people or to myself or about Avatar.
Well, I hope Sokka...
We'll go down the line. Kazfae, you start first.
Oh, sorry.
I just hope Sokka got that space sword back.
Oh, yeah, he loses. He's like, space sword! I hope so, too. Oh, that was an emotional moment because that was so cool, that sword. Black blade and everything. Yeah, right there with you. Thunderly, what do you have to say?
Watch this show. This show is basically the pinnacle of my childhood growing up. You know, it was this and X-Men, Wolverine and the X-Men. Those two
series.
shows were like the highlight of growing up. So when like they're on Netflix, they're on Paramount Plus if anybody has those. So
You have options. You have options. You can watch this right now. It's not hard. It's not hard to watch this series. And Chris Harris, did you have any last minute thoughts?
It lived up to the hype.
There you go. This man is a recent convert to the Avatar: The Last Airbender group, to the fandom, if you will. So there you go. Ringing endorsement from Mr. Ayers. But again, guys, thank you so much for doing this with me today. And I'll see all you guys next time. Bye. Bye-bye. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Yay, we did it. Very nice.